I'll hold on to these. You continue with whatever you're doing here. The next candidate is The Simpsons Road Rage. Yes, another game that nobody voted for. Stick with me on this one. Coming off the success of Crazy Taxi... Crazy Taxi. If there ever was a game that personified the Dreamcast generation, it was that. Coming off the success of Crazy Taxi, The Simpsons made its first entry into the duet of driving games back in the early 2000s. Back when all third-party games were published on 3 consoles. I played it on the GameCube, because, well, together now, you gotta have a GameCube!
First borrowed from a friend, that I also borrowed Knockout Kings and Def Jam Vendetta. I also helped the same guy with the Wind Waker dungeon. Well, that very summer he left to join the military, and in his sadness, he never asked for his games back. Therefore, I own Knockout Kings and Def Jam Vendetta.
Man, remember borrowing games? That's something we're gonna lose in the digital era. Good.
Simple premise. Mr. Burns buys out the bus transit system in Springfield and replaces them with radioactive waste-fueled transit. The Simpsons family fights back by providing affordable taxi service. I've watched maybe a total of about 30 Simpsons episodes, not through dislike, more of no access to network television. From what I've seen, I find it irreverent, smart, and very funny. In fact, I actually stole a joke from The Simpsons once. That patent pending freakout? Yeah, I straight plagiarized it. Something about Homer fixing his aching back by falling on a trash can. Road Rage encapsulates the classy, mostly PG sense of humor perfectly. Picking up and dropping off characters in Springfield will initiate hilarious sound bites. You'll get a limited amount of time for the taxi sessions, find a patron in need of a ride, pick him up, speed to the location, drop off, find another. Greater speed, greater fare, and the more time added. Prove yourself to be a true Simpsons fan by unlocking all the character cabbies and locations. It is fun for the challenge, but being a soundbite game, it suffers from dialogue repetition, especially at the end session's Montgomery Burns speeches.
To beat this game, in as much of a capacity to beat this kind of game, you have to raise $1 million to beat out Mr. Smithers. And that meter is filling up really slow. At around $600,000, out of sheer boredom, I bumped the difficulty up to the hardest. Then I started raking in the cash. Oh, you get more money for the... Okay, I get it now. I beat the game that afternoon. Storm? Huh? What is this? Oh, can you babysit that? Okay, so Road Rage was inspired by Crazy Taxi. I think I got a copy of that.
Dreamcast Side Project, Case 2, Crazy Taxi, sent by Naranja 797. So like I said, the inspiration for Road Rage is Crazy Taxi, which Sam Edwards sent in for a separate series. The first time I really jumped into the game was when I bought it for the PC back in 2003. I just got a new bare-bones Dell computer as a high school graduation present, and I used some of my summer job money to pick this up for Windows. $10, shrink-wrapped, new. I put some serious hours into Crazy Taxi. It's a lot deeper than I initially estimated, and the driving mechanics were completely new. In the end, I beat the Crazy Box and unlocked the Rickshaw Taxi. I would show you, if I still had the save file. That graduation PC lasted just long enough for me to make my first few video game reviews on it. In other words, that hard drive is dead and gone.
Crazy Taxi!
So good to hear Jim Varney doing that voiceover. In all odds, it's not Jim Varney, but like that even matters in this era of fake news. So I can say whatever and pass it off as the truth. Ernest P. Worrell is doing that voiceover. Jumping into arcade, I remember the setup. There is one big city, same start location, and 4 original characters. Axel is the everyman cabbie. Beady Joe is the hip influence. Gina is the inclusionist chick. And Gus is age before beauty. I always play BD because he permeates cool. Of course you need speed to get to customers and locations, but just hitting accelerate won't do it. There's a trick here all Crazy Taxi veterans know. Start in drive, then just before you begin to accelerate, click really fast into reverse and back into drive. This is also useful for tight corners and 180s. Save time by stopping close to the patron, but too close, they'll jump away in fright, wasting precious seconds. Such a silly concept, but there's some real skill involved. Crazy Taxi was a completely new concept, from what I remember, and I think this was Sega at its best. Yes, Sonic was very good. However, Sonic had already shit the bed at this point. It's a perfect time capsule for the millennium, when the world was happier. Objective fact, not nostalgia. Yet, it holds up today. No rose-tinted glasses required. I'm not ready to take on the crazy box again. That right there is a small, concentrated blast core. And don't bother with the time trials. Why put a limit on your crazy fun? Just stick to the arcade. Dreamcast side project, Case 3. Crazy Taxi 2, also sent by Naranja 797. No idea this was a thing, like that Metro Prime 3 line I heard long ago. It is natural after I had become attached to the original Crazy Taxi that I would immediately reject anything different in the sequel. Yeah, I'm feeling that right now. The imitation of New York City. Hold on. New York City? Every time. New York City I do not find interesting or aesthetically positive to drive in. I think the biggest trope is how hated the city and the people. Whatever, I've never been there. Then, all new characters. I just say, not corny enough.
We're back. It's Crazy Taxi 2.
Okay, that's not Jim Varney. Same control type and speed trick, but jumping has been added. How? Jam the Y button. After a few uninteresting rounds in the apple, I ventured down to the Crazy Pyramid, this game's crazy box, ready to slap the power button in a rage quit. I worked up to challenge 4-4, which had me taxiing around an all-black quartet from another decade. I dropped off the first guy, and he moonwalked off the car. I stopped playing right there. Nothing else in this game could be greater than that exit right there. 10 out of 10.
Okay, now the real business of Tell Storm what to play. The Simpsons Hit and Run only got a few votes, but the reason why I'm picking up this time around is I kinda promised I'd do an adventure on it to someone years ago. It was probably one of these guys. Yeah, sorry everyone. Road to 80 Hours, Dreamcast side project, and Tell Storm what to play has taught me never promise anything to anyone ever. So, if I'm doing Hit and Run, I gotta do Road Rage. And if I'm doing Road Rage, I gotta do Dreamcaster. Coming off the success of Grand Theft Auto 3, The Simpsons entered the driving arena again with Hit and Run, a free-roaming, mission-based, take-any-car game.
Not much information is given in the way of plot. It's sort of a thing exposed over time. The most to be inferred from the intro is alien robot bees and Homer wants new Buzz Cola. If you study the structure of a Simpsons episode, it begins and ends in very different places. Just past the intro, Homer heads outside. Now you get control of Homer and think, oh my god, I'm not tied to the car anymore, and gladly get in the car to drive to the Quickie Mart. On the way, you get a flare-up. A small voice inside you says, this is fun! Grand Theft Auto with Simpsons characters. What a great idea! And this is true Grand Theft Auto, as you can get into any car you want, under the guise of, the citizens of Springfield are willing to help. Whatever, you're taking control of the car. Lie by omission, you're stealing the car. Noticeable difference is the level of detail. Comparatively, Road Rage is very bland. The frame rate seems to often dip below 60 frames per second, although I'm not the best judge of this. Now that I can capture at 60 frames per second, I can showcase the difference, and you can decide. Well, I do have some videos from 2009 that are showing at the magical 60. Guys, I have no clue how I did that. Being a wholly different concept from Road Rage, I'm guessing Radical built a new engine for Hit and Run, along with lowering the standards. And I wouldn't quite attribute this to the GameCube hardware. It's a lot more powerful than my generation gave it credit for. There's some great platforming fun to be had here, and the music is just as whimsical as Danny Elfman's original theme. I think everyone has a great feeling the first few missions. Not long after you begin playing, some cracks appear, and the problems really start to show up. I said this is the free-roaming fun of Grand Theft Auto. Time with the game reveals these levels are essentially big loops with stops along the way. And from character to character, the environments are completely swapped out. Worse, I began to feel detached from the missions. Okay, in GTA, you do missions to advance the story. In Hit and Run, you try to advance the story with missions, but the characters you are talking to need you to do a favor first. Missions are completely autonomous to the plot. The cars, some are better than others, and what that really means is some are undrivable. Ditch the Canyonero. Nothing can be done in the Canyonero. But sometimes you are forced to make do with unsavory combinations. By the time I reached the Apu missions, I was saying, oh come on. The convenience store clerk has to use Snake's muscle car to take down an armored van. That doesn't... What? Pro tip, just follow it around and rely on the iffy AI to drive the van into a wall a few times. You might win accidentally. What happened? My sister owned this game, and I remember having a great time with Simpsons Theft Auto. Hit and Run must be a case of me being young and not too critical of games. just enjoying the experience. Oh no, put the brakes on that. I was 20 when I first played this. I don't know, what was it about Hit and Run that I remember being so fun? On this end, I suppose when you boil it down, you're just playing for the cutscenes, because they're really funny.
I gotta get the new Bone Storm or I'll be as uncool as Millhouse. I'm standing right here, Bart.
And to that point, the cutscenes are just recycling the same animations again and again. Then really, you're playing just for the dialogue, which is really funny.
If you do not tell me who owns the cola trucks, then I will be forced to use profanity.
My best theory about Hit and Run now is it was based off the GTAs of yesteryear, and those are old GTA standards. There was no diving out of cars, which is something I can't not do. There was no shooting through windshields, although I think that hardly applies here. The missions were primarily driving and less focused on the on-foot gunfights. That breaks apart if your driving isn't all that great. Today, it's hard to imagine GTA with a reduced instruction set. Hey, that's a computer term! This whole replay kind of proves something to me. The game isn't all bad, it's not impossibly difficult like the games of old, and the chuckles are there. I also liked how the last missions were in a Treehouse of Horror theme. I believe it has staying power, with people who played it, and certainly with Simpsons fans. It seems like a prime candidate to bring up for digital download. This would be a goldmine for Active Indie Izzard. But may I remind everyone that this is a licensed property, and licenses tend to be sold or expire. Licensing is why our future selves can't have nice things. Licensing is why our future selves can't have nice things. Huh, I thought he would have responded to that. Hey, oh, you found them. Storm? What are those? You know what? Hold that thought. I just remember I have something else to do.